Okay, good morning geometry class. You are working on your snow day packet, day number 4. One of the things I noticed when I graded days 1, 2, and 3 is that we still don't know how to factor. We have spent 5th hour, a lot of that time factoring, and you still don't know how to factor. So, we're going to learn how to factor. Let me check my camera. I think the battery's dying. Apparently not, so pardon me. But we are going to factor today, so you will be able to do those factoring problems. So, simple. We're going to do about 3 or 4 different types. I'm going to try and keep it about 10 minutes or less because it takes forever for it to upload to YouTube. So, very simple factoring problems, and I don't have my book. I'm making these up. Good thing I'm a math major. X squared plus, let's see, 10x plus 21. And the directions say factor. You're on a placement test, you don't know how to factor, you're in trouble, you're not going to pass. So we have to make sure we know how to do this. So we talked about we take the constant, the term that doesn't have any variables with it, and we take it and put it on the left side of our t-chart, 21. We take our coefficient of x and put it on the right side, 10. We are looking for things that multiply to give us 21, but add to give us 10. So we can start listing the factors if we don't know right off the top of our head that it's 7 and 3. So we can say 1 times 21, doesn't work. Negative 1 times negative 21, still gives me positive 21, doesn't give me 10 when I add it together. You see, this gives me 22, this gives me negative 22. All right, keep going. Let's see, 2 doesn't work. 3 times 7, 3 times 7 gives me 21, add it together, gives me 10. Perfect. So this is as simple as x plus 3 and x plus 7. End of story. That's it. You're done. Not bad. Let's say we got a little bit more difficult and it said instead x squared plus 10x plus 21 equals 0. Solve for x. Well, you already know what the factors are because we just did that up here. So if you didn't know that, you would have to factor it first. Just keep it equal to 0. Now see, the thing is that if I were to plug in something here that made this part be 0, what is 0 times anything? 0 times anything is 0. So if this part's 0, or if this part's 0, then the whole thing is 0. So I need to figure out, what do I plug in here to make this 0? What do I plug in here to make this 0? And it'll give me 2 separate answers. If that didn't make sense to you, follow the steps. Once you get it equal to 0, take each of your factors and set those equal to 0 on their own. So subtract 3, x equals negative 3. Subtract 7, x can equal negative 7. So my solution set is negative 3 and negative 7. Okay? Squiggly brackets mean solution set. Regular parentheses mean it's an ordered pair. This is not an ordered pair. This is not an x and a y. This is a solution set. So the answers are negative 3 and negative 7. Does that work? Well, let's see. Negative 3 plus 3, and then negative 3 plus 7. Well, what's negative 3 plus 3? Well, it's 0. So if this guy is 0, does it matter what this guy is? No, because 0 times anything will still give me 0. What if I did the other one? What if I did negative 7 plus 3 and negative 7 plus 7? Okay? Negative 7 plus 3, that's negative 4, but this is 0, so negative 4 times 0, the whole thing is 0. Okay? So that is one thing that I saw some mistakes on. Now here's another. Let's say it didn't come out that easily to solve. Let's say it was a problem that looked like, let me think of one. What's a good one? Hold on. X squared minus, let's see. Okay, so we're going to make it equal to 14, and it's going to be minus 7 minus 2 is 5. I think that should work. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Okay, so what's the issue here? How come it's different than this one? Why is that different than that? Well, it doesn't equal 0. Whenever we factor and solve, so when factor and solve, it has to equal 0. This doesn't equal 0, it equals 14. Good thing we're mathematicians and we can go ahead and make this equal 0. It's really simple. How do I make this be a 0 over here? What would I have to do to 14 to turn that into a 0? I'd have to subtract 14. If I subtract 14 on one side, golden rule of algebra says I have to do it on the other side. So I subtract 14 over here. This cancels and I get 0. This guy becomes x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. Okay, this is where we see, did Ms. Zender know what she was talking about, or did she screw up? Quite possible either one of those things happened. So what we need to do is figure out how to factor this. Go back to your T-chart. Make a T-chart. Factors of negative 14, that's our constant, it's our number that doesn't have any variables, have to add up to the coefficient of x, and the coefficient here is negative 5. Because this is a negative 14, the signs here have to be opposite. So I'm looking at factors of negative 14. That would be 1 and negative 14, that gives me negative 13. Doesn't work. Negative 1 and positive 14, that gives me a positive 13. That doesn't work. What are some other factors of 14? How about 2 and negative 7? 2 minus 7 gives me negative 5. Ding, 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 ding. I got one. 2 minus 7 gives me negative 5. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to factor this guy into x plus 2 and x minus 7 equals 0. Follow the same steps that we did right back here. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. Make them both equal to 0. If you can do that in your head, negative 2 and 7, by all means. If you can't, go ahead and say x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0. So x would equal negative 2, or x would equal 7. Solution set is negative 2 and 7. Not bad. Pretty easy, actually. Okay, and remember, guys, I told you about my lovely experience in algebra where my teacher said, just guess and check until you get it to work. It's a little bit harder, especially when we get to these other ones. I'm going to show you one more type, and then I'm going to sign off for the day, and I'm going to enjoy my snow day. So one more type of problem we can have. Holy moly, what if there's a coefficient in front of x squared? Everything we've had so far has just had a coefficient of 1. What if it's bigger than 1? What if it's like 3x squared? Hold on, I gotta think of these. Minus 5 over here, so that makes 15. And so negative 15 and positive 1. Let's see. That should work. And I'm going to make you solve it too, okay? See, what's going to happen here is you are going to get a fraction, okay? That's okay. You got to learn to work with fractions. Fractions are our friends. They are numbers just like whole numbers. In fact, they're just parts of whole numbers. So you can't be segregating against fractions anymore, okay? You can't be upset about fractions. They're just real numbers, okay? And sometimes it's better to have a half than a whole. So it's okay to have fractions. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got to set up that T-chart thing again. Okay, but this time instead of negative 5, I'm going to multiply by 3. It's what I've been doing the whole time, but what have I been multiplying before? It's been 1, so it didn't change what was over here. So this gives me a negative 15, and I want still the coefficient of x, negative 14. So factors of negative 15, 1 and negative 15. Does 1 plus negative 15 give me negative 14? Sweet! Got it on the first try. So if I didn't get it on the first try, you would just keep listening until you got things that would work. Remember, these are multiply and these are add. So things that multiply to give me 15, but then add to give me negative 14. Now I'm going to do what's called splitting the middle term. And I showed you splitting the middle term and I showed you the box. So splitting the middle term goes like this. We rewrite the 3x squared. We rewrite negative 14x as these two factors, okay? So it's the same thing because if I put plus 1x minus 14x minus 5, I'm sorry. You're like, dude, you're crazy, Ms. Zender. No, You use this number here, negative 15. What is 1 minus 15? Is it negative 14? Yes. So have I changed anything? No, I actually have not. So this equals 0. Now, when I split the middle term, then I have to group. So they call this factoring by grouping, which is that Khan Academy one that I sent you. And maybe that's better for you. Fine, doesn't hurt my feelings at all. So what do I have that I can factor out of 3x squared and 1x? What do they have in common? What is the same in both terms? Well, there's an x and an x. They don't have any numbers that I can divide them by, only variables. So I factor out an x, and I get 3x plus 1. Does that work? Well, let's see. Is x times 3x squared? Yep. Is x times 1, 1x? Yep, so it works. Now, you can go back over here and say, what can I factor out? But I like to do it a different way, because if I've done all my steps right up to here, the next step's going to work. And I make this a twin. This is the twins and trash method that I told you before. So I'm going to make it, it has to be a twin. So I'm going to make it a twin. Then I'm going to double check. What do I have to multiply 3x by to get negative 15? What's 3 times what gives me negative 15? It's got to be a negative 5. Does that work? Is negative 5 times 3x negative 15x? Check. Is negative 5 times 1 negative 5? Yes. So that works. These are twins. Twins. These are my trash. You write your twins down once because you're basically factoring out what they have in common. So you write your twins down, 3x plus 1, and you write your trash down. It's what's left after you pull those out, set it equal to 0. Twins and trash. Okay, we did do a box method. I'll kind of show you a little quickly over here. It's the same idea. You put the 3x squared here, you put the negative 5 here, you take those middle terms that you split, you can put them in either place. Then you look at each column and row and decide what you can factor out. Can't factor anything out, so that gives me a 1. Here I can factor out a 3 and an x. Here I can factor out an x, and here I can factor out a negative 5. So I get 3x plus 1 and x minus 5. Looks like it's really easy because I've already done it. This is just as complex as this problem. It's the exact same thing, just a different way. Maybe you're more of a kinesthetic or a visual. Maybe the box makes sense to you. Either way is fine. They're both correct. No matter what anybody tells you when you get into other math classes, this is okay. So now we take each one, same idea we did before, 3x plus 1 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. So we can subtract 1 and we get 3x equals negative 1, and here we get x equals negative 1/3. Leave it as a fraction. Here we get x equals 5. My solution set is negative 1/3 and 5. And that is factoring with grouping, twins and trash, box method, whatever you want to call it. This method works on the other ones, but it's more work than you actually need to do. So I would reserve it only for when there's a coefficient in front of x squared. All right, that's down and dirty on factoring by twins and trash, and when there's coefficient of x squared equal to 1. So work on those snow day packets. I don't expect to see anything that looks like either of these empty when I collect them, which will probably be, I guess, on Thursday. So have a great snow day. Enjoy your day off after you finish your math today, and I will see you soon, hopefully. Looks like maybe tomorrow if we have school, Thursday at the latest. Have a great day, guys.